Last time on Shadow Piece, the battle between the new giant warrior pirates and the force of Loki continued. Pyro and his crew managed to turn the number advantage to their side. The Lokis from other dimensions weren't used to their weakened states, as they could only bring out as much power as the Prince Loki from this universe could wield. Some of them, however, also accepted defeat and either returned to their home universes or just didn't get back up again to see how the remaining battle would develop. It was clear that if things continued like this, the new giant warrior pirates would ride the wave of advantage until the very end and come out victorious. So the Lokis had to do something. The rain was heavier now, turning the torn streets of Hachinosu into rivers of mud and ash. The sea pounded the shore, and lightning flashed so often that the battlefield felt trapped in a strobe. Every clash frozen for a fraction of a heartbeat before the darkness returned. The storm smelled of iron and smoke. The new giant warrior pirates had pushed the Lokis to the brink. War God Loki was down, as were Bounty Hunter Loki, Female Loki, Sniper King Loki, and the Ultimate Warrior Loki. But the survivors stood in a tight knot, their breathing heavy, eyes locked on the advancing giants. At the center was Fleet Admiral Loki, his white coat torn and rain slick, the kanji for justice on the back almost obscured by soot and blood. His eyes were sharp, calculating, and besides him stood Canon Loki, his warhammer Ragnir resting on one shoulder, his face drawn into a grim smile. Admiral Loki spoke without shouting, yet his words cut through the chaos. "We don't need to win every fight, we need to break their line." Canon Loki smirked. "You set them up? I'll knock them down. At least I can trust myself that I won't hold me back." Hyrien, Tyr, Gerd, Rode, Goldberg and Stanson spread out instinctively, trying to keep their momentum. But Fleet Admiral Loki's feet pressed into the ground, and the terrain began to twist and shift. Cobblestones stretched, walls warped, and the very street themselves bent like a living maze. The Admiral was cutting the battlefield into kill zones, isolating fighters from one another. Goldberg suddenly found himself standing shoulder to shoulder with Stanson and Rode, but their enemies were nowhere in sight, just a warped outline of streets and alleys leading towards the ruined marketplace of Hachinosu. Then the rain parted around the shadow. Canon Loki stepped forward, Ragnir humming with lethal intent. Goldberg planted his shield with metallic funk. 3-on-1? This'll be quick! Admiral Loki's voice came from somewhere unseen. "Not for you." The ground beneath Rode tilted violently, sending him sliding forward straight into Canon Loki's swing. The warhammer smashed into his side, the sound like a battering ram hitting stone. Rhodes' armor buckled, and he stumbled back, vision swimming, and as if that wasn't enough, Canon Loki came after him for a second swing, knocking him completely unconscious. However, one thing the Fleet Admiral didn't consider was how Canon Loki felt about these giants in his original world. One slam, then another. Canon Loki shattered the bones in the legs of Rhodes. Goldberg charged in, club whipping around in a wide arc to help out his comrade. Canon Loki caught it on Ragnir's shaft, sparks exploding from the clash, and twisted. The torque yanked Goldberg forward, straight into a knee to the gut. Stanson roared and swung his hammer like a catapult arm, aiming to crush Loki's skull, but the warhammer of Loki met it with such force that Stanson's weapon simply shattered into pieces in his hands. His wrists ached from destruction, and before he could recover, the ground shifted again, courtesy of Admiral Loki, tilting Stanson's footing and leaving him open for another brutal strike to the ribs. The pain from his legs getting destroyed made Rhodes regain consciousness, and while he was in massive pain and couldn't stand anymore, he still attacked with a quick draw slash on the ground, his blade cutting across Canon Loki's cheek. A thin line of blood appeared, and Loki simply grinned. "Good," he said. "That means I can hit you harder." Admiral Loki warped the air, so that Rhodes dropped 3 meters into a flooded pothole. Before he could recover or even react, Ragnir came down like the fist of a god, smashing him into the water. The impact blew a ring of spray outward, and Rhodes laid still, his katana drifting from his fingers, and he lost consciousness again. "Rhodes!" Goldberg bellowed. He lunged forward, shield raised, but Canon Loki sidestepped at the perfect moment, the move guided by Admiral Loki's manipulation of space. The shield struck nothing but air, and Ragnir slammed into Goldberg's side. The homie shield howled in pain as its metal body dented under the blow, and Goldberg went down to one knee, coughing. Stanson tried to cover him, his hammer smashing into the ground with a tremor that made the building sway, but the Admiral bent the space again, sliding Stanson's position 2 meters forward mid-swing. His strike hit nothing, and Canon Loki's counter smashed right into his shoulder, breaking it apart. Stanson staggered, dropped his hammer, and fell hard onto the ground. Goldberg swung one last desperate arc, advanced armament glowing along his club, but Canon Loki caught it under Ragnar's head and shoved hard. Well, now I'm bored. You guys were nothing compared to those Domi, Reversi, Dory, and Broggy I had to fight with that stretchy guy in my world. Loki looked at them, while these new giant warrior pirates were much more powerful than their Canon counterparts. With the coordination of Fleet Admiral Loki, they didn't even hold the slightest chance in this battle. The force of Canon Loki's shove launched Goldberg into a collapsed building, wood and stone tumbling over him. He didn't rise. Buried underneath rubble, the second new giant warrior pirate to go down. Stanson was next. Loki delivered a crushing blow to his chest that knocked the breath out of him, then a follow-up strike that left him sprawled in the mud, gasping for air. The giant's flank had been gutted in less than 2 minutes. Admiral Loki stepped into view now, walking calmly through the rain, ice cold. The line is broken. Push forward and end this feud. Justice will prevail. Before the Lokis could surge, a crimson streak cut through the air. Tyrfing crashed into Ragnar with a shriek of metal, the force of the blow pushing Canon Loki back several steps. "You've done enough," Tyr said, voice low. He hadn't been a part of this crew for long, but still, seeing his comrades get hurt like this, and his opponent have that manic grin while doing it, was enough to enrage him. Canon Loki's grin didn't fade. "So you are the wielder of Tyrfing in this universe." Loki laughed, the bandages around his eyes enhancing his menacing feeling. "You want to know what I did to the Tyr in my universe, when you tried to stop me from returning to the Sun World?" They traded blows that shattered the already ruined street, black lightning dancing between each clash. Tyr pressed forward with relentless precision, forcing Loki into a defensive stance. "Are you speaking about me, Tyr's son, or my father, Tyr?" One last feint drew the warhammer wide, and Tyrfing's point slammed into Loki's chest, not piercing deep, but enough to knock him back. Canon Loki groaned, catching his breath quickly again. "Oh, you are the child of that loser? Well, that makes it all the more fun. I kill—" A spark of hatred. Haki cleared the rainy clouds, but Tyr didn't say a word. Instead, he lunged forward. Tyrfing clashed against Ragnar multiple times. The destruction around them just grew in size until Tyr finally said a single thing to his opponent. "He may be my father from a different universe, but I still won't stand for scum like you talking bad about him." The Haki around Tyrfing basically screamed with might. As Tyrson went in for another slash, he weaved past the hammer swing of Loki and cut him down, forcing him to return to his original universe. Not far away, Hyrian's gaze had never left Prince Loki. The two moved towards each other like magnets. "Are you ready for?" Prince Loki asked as they closed the gap. "Why don't you join me? If we use Blackbeard, we can rule the entire world." "You turned your back on what we are," Hyrian replied simply. "I won't follow you into that darkness." The Sin of Pride smacked his fists together and laughed. "And to begin with, Blackbeard won't even live to see the next day, much less become the king of the entire world." Their fists met in a burst of black lightning that made the air taste like ozone. Prince Loki warped the ground, closing distance in an instant to land a body blow, but Hyrian absorbed it and answered with a hook that bent the cobblestones. They fought with brutal familiarity, each countering the other's habits, each exploiting every tiny lapse, a shared childhood in every strike. Even if Loki never saw him as a brother until now, they still had battled countless times against each other in the past. The blows grew heavier, faster, the ground itself splitting around the force of their movements. For a moment, the war faded into the background. There was only the two of them, locked in a storm of blood and pride, neither willing to yield. The battlefield was shifting again, with Goldberg, Stanson, and Road down. The new giant warrior pirates formation had cracked. The surviving two Lokis pressed forward under Admiral Loki's direction, while Tyr, Gerd, and Hyradine fought to hold the line. And in the center, the brothers' duel raged on, a personal war inside the greater one that would decide not just the fate of Hachinosu, but the honor of their bloodline. The storm above roared louder as if the island itself was watching, waiting for the next thunderclap. And this is the end of today's episode of Shadow Piece. I hope you enjoyed it. Now we are getting somewhere. Canon Loki went down, but not so much without a fight. He did take out quite a few people here, and I think this seems about accurate. This is how strong I imagine him to be in the canon story. So now it's only a 3 versus 2 left. I wonder how it's all going to turn out. But to find that out, you have to return another time. All is left to be said for today is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro, out. Bye!